It's our turn, episode number 55. Questions, so many questions. In this episode, the cast and crew of Our Turn answer listener questions about all kinds of topics. Frank does a review of D-Day Dice, and I interview game designer Angela Dickens.
This is the Dice Tower Network, adding games to your wish list since 2005.
Hosting for this episode is generously provided by our fantastic patrons on patreon.com. As a thank you to our patrons, we post extra exclusive content just for them. If you'd like to help us out by pledging $1 per month or more, please visit patreon.com/OurTurnPodcast. Every dollar helps to keep this show going strong. Hi, and welcome back to Our Turn. I'm Cathy Ford.
And I'm Sarah Reed.
Hey, Sarah, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I am doing good. I'm a little bit of a case of nerves because of things that are happening very soon.
Yes.
But we'll talk about that a little more at the end of the show, I think. So we normally start off our show by talking about what we've been up to lately. So what games have you gotten to the table lately, Sarah?
I got a new game to the table, although I think it's relatively new, just came out last year, and that's Dairyman. So what's been interesting is Tasty Minstrel Games has been picking up a lot of smaller fare from other countries. They've gotten a lot of Japanese games, and this one is actually from Taiwan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this one is designed by Chi-Fen Chen, and again, published by Tasty Minstrel. Plays 2 to 4 players in about 20 to 30 minutes. It's just such a cute dice rolling, push your luck game about milking cows and turning it into cheese and ice cream.
That's an interesting topic. You don't see that very often.
No.
That's not an overused theme.
No, it's not. And it is quite simple, but very engaging. So on your turn, you roll these dice, because it is a dice game. And you either have to put 2 dice together or 3 dice together to make a value of 10. So here's where some of it gets a little abstracted. So if you're successful, that will go into the first barn. So that represents the amount of milk you're able to milk, yeah. And but you have to have a value of 10 exactly. And you can choose then to either stop there or roll again. If you roll again, you have to make another 10 on 2 or 3 dice. And then if you succeed, those go on to the second barn. And if you go for the third roll, you immediately get a freeze token, which I'll explain in a moment. And again, need to make a 10 on either 2 or 3 dice. Now, if you choose to stop after a successful roll, you're going to trade in your sets of dice for milk from the row. So they have values in increments of 10. So 10, 20, 30, and 40. So it's a pretty easy exchange rate. And you're going to put the chosen milk token in front of you. Now, if any of them have a freeze symbol on it, and you have a freeze token, you put the freeze token back in the supply and you flip the tile over. You've made ice cream. And this also locks the tile from being lost, which can happen. And it gives you an ability that can then manipulate the dice. There's only a few different ways. Usually they're re-rolls, so it's still kind of random. Now, if the milk token has a yellow die on it, during your normal rolls, if you roll that depicted value on the yellow die, then you can spend the yellow die to flip it over, and it's now cheese. It's locked from being lost, and it's just worth more points, because who doesn't love cheese?
Oh, I know it.
So now, though, should you ever not be able to make 10 from the 2 or 3 dice, the milk spoils, you bust. You have.
Oh, no.
I know, it sucks. You have to take a spoiled milk token and a red die. Now, this token is a -5 points should you still have it at the end of the game. But when you roll, you'll add this red die in and roll it for as long as you have that spoiled milk token. So it's a little interesting that you get a little bit more rolling power, but you've got this threat of having negative points if you don't get rid of it. And how you get rid of it is when all of the spilled milk tokens are taken, you check to see who has the most. They will lose a milk tile. But if the person has changed all their milk into ice cream and cheese, nothing is lost. All the tokens and the red dice get back to the supply. So this continues until the game ends, when you can no longer fill the milk row with tokens. And then whoever has the most, highest value of milk, cheese, and ice cream wins and is declared the best dairy farmer.
That actually does sound like fun.
It is. It's just so cute. It's got minimalistic art, but you don't really need it. It is more on the mechanical side, but even then, it's just fun. It's just this cute little filler that has interesting choices. Early on in the game, it's actually a good idea to push your luck so you can actually get those red dice to boost your chances of being able to get that higher value milk and be able to roll enough to get the freeze tokens. And then getting the ice cream tiles early is good, so you have those slight manipulative abilities, but you have to be able to get the valuable cheese tiles. So there's a bit of strategy, but none of it's too complex. It's still very accessible and just, like I said, a lot of fun. So I give it a 4 out of 5. Dairyman is just solid, and I'm glad I took a chance on it.
Interesting. What made it catch your eye, and where did you see it?
I saw it on Twitter. You'll probably have to blame this one on Suzanne, because she tends to have the cute little dice rolling games.
Suzanne Sheldon?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm pretty sure it was her, and if it wasn't, it was somebody. I saw it, and I was like, that just looks cute. And I can't remember why I actually pulled the trigger. Oh, I think I had some points on Amazon, and I was making an order to get some other stuff, and I had a little bit left over, so I threw Dairyman into the pile and said, let's give this a shot.
And what did Will think of it?
He likes it too. I'm trying to remember if he's won more than me. I think we've won about an equal number of times.
Nice.
I think the first time he just got it better, and I think he just got more. Yeah, he got more cheese. I went for more ice cream to get the abilities, because I thought that would, get it for me. But the thing is, some of the abilities are just re-rolling. You can't choose to get the side that you really want. So you do have to balance that out. So yeah,
okay.
We both really like it. All of it's open information, so it's definitely very visually accessible, very minimalistic. I mean, even the little barns are not really necessary. You just need to group your dice in sets of 10 and have the three phases. But it all presents it just very well.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's just what I haven't heard, but I'd like to try it with you sometime.
Okay, yeah. It's like I said,
that's intriguing.
Just solid little dice game. And I don't think they've been promoting it as much, but it's one of their smaller games. I'm sure I know it's under 20. So
okay.
Yep.
I'll keep an eye out for it for sure.
Dairyman.
Awesome. So I got invited to participate in a Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition game run by my friend Doc Cross.
Cool.
So we have started our campaign.
Mm-hmm.
At present, we are a bunch of level 0 teenagers. We are from the village of Halfway. Halfway between what? I don't know, but that's what it's called. And we all decided that we were 15, 16 years old, and it was time to set off and have our adventures before we had to get married and, become adults kind of things.
Okay.
And so we found this adventurer who was, an old guy who was kind of, known around the village. And we told him we wanted to go adventuring. And so he said he would help us get started. And we started off and we were hiking through fields and forests and all of that. And then I had a week where I couldn't attend.
Aww.
And so Doc, being the clever DM that he is, he texted me during the game. Mm-hmm. And he says, you were standing guard at night and you heard a noise in the woods, so you went to investigate. And I went off on this little adventure of my own for this week that I couldn't attend the session because I was babysitting my niece, Walker Lynn.
Aww.
So that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, while I was off on my own adventure, my group found this village, and it was an abandoned village. They went and looted it. They found some nice stuff. And they ran into a creature called an Etten.
Ooh.
Any idea what an Etten is?
It does sound very familiar, and if I remember correctly, that's not exactly a level 0 creature.
No, it is not.
I didn't think so.
It is a giant with 2 heads.
Yeah, right.
And the 2 heads don't usually like each other.
Yes.
And they have their own minds, and they can try to go their own ways, and they will often punch one another.
Yeah.
They got attacked by the Etten just as I was coming back from my little adventure, my little side adventure. Mm-hmm. And so we took off running through the woods because Etten is not a level 0 creature. Mm-mm. Anyway, we get to this clearing, and the Etten comes into the clearing, and all of a sudden he's peppered by arrows from the trees. There's a troop of wood elves up in the trees. And so we turn around, and we're going to fight the Etten to help the wood elves take down this Etten, right? We managed to kill it.
Wow.
Yeah. Some lucky shots and lucky rolls on our part.
Dang.
Anyway, so they made us pay them in loot for saving our lives and guiding us out of the forest. So that was fun. And then we got to this little village. We sold some loot. Mm-hmm. We bought a boat, a little rowboat.
Yeah.
Or a little bit bigger than a rowboat. And we climbed in and took the river down to the big city. And now we are novice members of the Adventurers Guild.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So my character's name is Michaela Bowman. Mm-hmm. She's the daughter of a royal ranger, and she is going to get trained to be a ranger. Mm. And her skills are with bows.
Yeah.
And she has a dog with her named Freya. So one of the interesting things, my favorite character to play is a half-orc because I like the strength that they have. Right. I have this backstory that I like that explains a lot of things about her. But when I asked Doc if I could play this character, he said no. Ooh. So this is my first time actually playing a human character in D&D, and so it's interesting to kind of do something a little different.
Yeah.
I like the ranger class.
Yeah, me too.
That's a fun one to play. I like having my dog, who is apparently very smart because she saw the Etten and ran.
Unlike the rest of you.
You know, she's got a good idea. Let's go. So anyway, when we convene in a couple of weeks for our next session, 3 years will have passed.
Oh, wow.
And we will have gone through our
training,
Adventure Guild training. So I'm looking forward to seeing what will happen next. And I'll let you all know what happens in the adventures of Michaela Bowman.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's been fun. I haven't delved into the rules and everything around 5th edition. I've just kind of been going there. Okay, what do I need to roll? Okay, I'll roll it. Here we go. Yeah, I've got this huge bag of dice, and so just tell me what I need to roll and I'll roll it. But I'm having fun with it. I'm having a lot of fun with it. So on the OTP rating right now, I'm going to put it as a 4 because it's a good solid game. So far I'm liking the 5th edition. Last game I played in for Dungeons and Dragons was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which is like
big difference.
Yeah. I haven't noticed too much of a difference, and when I did a little bit of research on 5th edition, I learned that they've taken the best things out of the different editions and put them into 5th edition. Now, I know that Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson are the original designers of D&D, but on RPG Geek, there is no credit for who worked on 5th edition.
I think it's because way too many people worked on 5th edition. Probably.
So there's absolutely no credit given there. It doesn't even note the publisher, which is Wizards of the Coast.
That is really strange.
I was kind of surprised to note the differences between RPG Geek and BGG.
Must not be up to date. Anyways.
But I'm having fun with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Cool.
And hi, Doc. What else is up for you?
All right. So we finally got Orleans back to the table to play the Invasion expansion, the duel scenario. So one thing I probably need to go over is... Well, actually, before I go over the expansion, for those who aren't familiar with Orleans, it's a bag building, worker placement, point salad strategy game. Your typical Euro-style game. It's medieval times, and you're hiring a variety of followers, like farmers, merchants, knights, monks, etc., to gain supremacy through trade, construction, and science in medieval France. So it's pretty your typical thing there. Everyone has their own personal board where you're going to place workers to take actions, mostly which are to hire more workers. Or you can travel on the map and a few other things. The tricky thing is balancing which workers you hire because they all go into your bag. Orleans is often credited as defining the bag building games, like Quarriors and the Dice Masters came before it, where you would have dice and you'd put them in a bag and you'd draw them. But this takes it a step further with how you use than what you pull out of the bag. You can only put certain workers on certain actions. So if you don't pull the people you need out of the bag, you're not going to be able to take certain actions. But you can set workers on actions to set them up for later. So there's a bit of a tactical element with being able to shift your strategy to what actually comes up in the game. And in the base game, like most games, it's whoever has the most points wins. And I think the base game goes 18 rounds. So the Invasion expansion contains 6 scenarios. And they call them scenarios. Will calls them modes of play. They're definitely not modules because you can't mix them together. One scenario just adds more to the base game. One's a cooperative mode, which I'm really looking forward to. One is a 2-player only, and then the 3 other for solo play, which I think is really cool. It's a big box that has a variety of stuff for different people. So all
of this comes in the base game?
No, this is all in just the expansion. The Invasion.
Oh, okay. This comes in an expansion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Invasion expansion contains those 6 scenarios.
Got it.
Yeah. Now, we tried the 2-player duel because the base game felt a little too open for a 2-player game. There just wasn't any tension in what you were doing in a 2-player game. And so someone had recommended that this expansion, Invasion, adds a 2-player only mode. So we thought, okay, great, that's gonna work for us. And I will say it really does make it really tense for 2 players, and it completely changes the goals of the game. I'm just not sure I really like it. So first major change is there's 16 rounds instead of 18. The events are all predetermined instead of random as they are in the base game. Also, should you fail to pay for an event, you lose immediately. Your opponent wins. So that kind of reminds me a little of Seven Wonders duels, where that sudden...
Where, like, if you get a military
Yes.
victory or a scientific victory, it automatically ends the game.
Right. So the same thing here. If you fail to have whatever it is you need to pay... So most of the events are negative. You have to pay a cheese, or you have to pay 5 coins, or whatever. So that's something you immediately have to pay attention to, or you're just eliminated and your opponent wins. So you have to balance that events with the 4 objectives. These objectives are also predetermined and never change. So it makes the game very puzzly, which is interesting. Just not something we would want to play over and over again. I'm not sure most people would want to play it a lot because you'd start to figure out the best way to solve the puzzle. For example, we both did the exact same things on the first 3 rounds because that was the best way to meet the first 3 events. However, once you start drawing workers from your bag, that's where things change, and sometimes, for the worse, you won't get what you need to meet either an event or an objective. So also, this mode works best with 2 equally skilled players. Will won the game by completing all 4 objectives 3 rounds before the end of the game. Well, I was doing okay, and I would have met the objectives by the end of the game. There really isn't ever going to be any circumstance where I'm going to get better at this puzzle before Will does.
That's just his talent.
His talent. He's the chess master in this kind of situation. So I personally am never going to choose to play this mode again unless it's against somebody else. But even then, I'm not sure I would because it was really stressful to balance the events versus the 4 objectives you're trying to get to. So while, like I said, our complaint about the base game is that for 2 players it was too relaxed, this ramps it up a little too much. So it goes to the opposite end of the spectrum. So thinking about it and having these 2 choices, we would both prefer to play the relaxed, normal version rather than this puzzle. So let me for the dual scenario of Orleans Invasion Expansion, I only give it a 2.
Ah.
It may work for someone else, not for us. But what I'm really looking forward to is next time we're going to try the cooperative scenario, which I've heard some people absolutely love, and now we'll only ever play Orleans cooperatively.
Oh, okay. Well, I got to tell you, you've got a really good shot of winning the duel scenario if you play it against me, because I am lousy at puzzles.
I think there's so many other games I'd prefer to play against you. I don't need that kind of win, but thank you.
Okay.
I also forgot the expansion, to go over the stats of it. It's designed by 3 people because the different pieces are designed by different people. Inca Brand, Marcus Brand, and Rainer Stockhausen. I believe it was Rainer Stockhausen who designed the original Orleans. I think, no. The reason why that name sticks out to me is he made all the solo modes.
Ah, okay.
And then it's the other 2 who did the base game. And it's published by DLP Games. I know that there's a North American publisher that releases it, and I cannot remember who that is. I forgot to write that down. But it plays one.
Seems like it's Rio Grande.
I think so.
When I'm picturing the Orleans box,
Yeah.
I'm seeing that logo, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. So, but I do know it's DLP is the original. And then plays 1 to 5 players in 90 to 120 minutes. So this is a longer game. You're going to sit down. But I love the original game. It's a lot of fun. It can, like I said, get frustrating with the bag pulling thing. But it's got a good balance of tactics and strategies. So like I said, next time you hear about this from me, it's going to be the cooperative mode. You'll find out whether or not that is going to be the way we play it going forward.
Okay. I haven't played Orleans yet. Mm-hmm. I know my friend Mike. Hi, Mike. I know he has a copy of it, so I'm going to have to arrange to go over there or have him come over here and bring that game and sit down and play it, because I know Mark played it at a convention one time, and he really liked it.
Yeah, it's really good.
And I've heard that.
Yeah.
So I'm anxious to sit down and play it. I like worker placement. I don't think I've ever played a bag building game.
There aren't that many out there yet, so...
Yeah, so this should be interesting.
Yeah.
This should be interesting. All right, very cool. So this particular scenario you give a 2, but overall you like Orleans.
Yes, overall I don't remember what I gave it. Orleans is definitely at least a solid 4 for me right now. 4.5 depending on how I think I'm feeling at the time, but this particular, to make it specific for 2-player, I did not like it. It was a 2. And I haven't talked to too many people who play it 2-player. I've just heard a lot more people play it cooperatively when they get the expansion. But overall, if you're interested in getting base Orleans, go for it. It's just for the Invasion expansion, get it for all the different content, not specifically for the 2-player variant.
Okay. All right. My last game for today is a trick-taking game called Ladder 29. Longtime listeners will remember earlier in the year, certain other hosts of this show were giving me a hard time for not ever having played a trick-taking game. And so I started looking around for trick-taking games because I wanted to fix that deficiency in my gaming repertoire. And so the first trick-taking game I played was Hearts with Mark and Dwayne and Yurko. Hi, guys. And then I backed Trickster. And I also backed Ladder 29 because I heard good things about it. And so Ladder 29 is the game that I'm going to talk about today because it got here. Yay. And, that's not too bad, backing it earlier in the year and getting it in November. So, good on them. So Ladder 29 is designed by Ben Pinchback and Matt Riddle, and the artist is Andy Jewett, and it's published by Green Couch Games. It came out this year. And first of all, I want to give them kudos for their graphic design, which Sarah helped with.
Just a little bit. There's more on the colorblind friendliness.
Right, exactly. Her suggestion, if I remember correctly, was to have the symbol in the center of the cards put it up under the number so you can see it when you're holding the cards in a fan.
Yep.
So let me back up a little bit. This is a trick-taking game, and it with a firefighter theme, which is what Ladder 29 is all about. The other thing I want to compliment them on in their graphic design is there are 4 wild cards in the deck. 2 of them are zeros because they're firefighter rookies. 1 is an 18, and that's a lieutenant. And then there's a 21, that's a chief. First of all, 50-50 gender split. So you've got a female rookie and a male rookie. You've got the lieutenant is male and the chief is female. Not only is the chief female, she's an African-American female, which I thought was just a really cool thing for them to do.
Yep.
The lieutenant looks like your typical Irish white male firefighter, which, great, they're represented. That's fantastic. The rookie is a redheaded female, and then the other rookie looks like a Hispanic male, which I think is great. The cards are divided into 4 different suits. There's yellow, red, green, and blue. Not only are they divided into those colors, but those colors are ranked as well. Red will beat yellow, green will beat red, and blue will beat green, and everything below it. The cards are numbered from 1 to 21, and there's 3 phases to each round, and you're playing till the first person to get to 29. So it doesn't take very long. So at the beginning of the round, you're dealt 13 cards, and the person... Oh, and then you choose 3 cards, and you pass them to the person on your left. So everybody exchanges 3 cards. And then the person who is in last place in the scoring gets to choose first of a set of hotshot cards, or hotspot cards. So what these are variable player powers or player restrictions or something. The number of hotspot cards that are put out, there's a start player card, and then there's the number of however many people are playing, that's how many hotspot cards go out. So you'll always have a choice. You're not going to be left with, the worst one last. You always have 2 to choose from at least. But these are restrictions on how you can play. And then they're also scoring. And the scoring on your hotspot card only applies to you, which I thought was different. Mm-hmm. So, like, one of them is must beat played cards by at least 2. So if someone plays a 3, you can't play a 4. You have to play a 5 or better. Another one, if this is in front of you. Another one is may not play yellow cards in runs. So I'll get to how the game is played here in a minute. Must beat played cards by at least 1. May not play pairs. Pairs and triples must include red cards. So there's all these different restrictions, I guess, on how you play. And each round you get a different hotspot card. Then you start to play, and there are legal plays that you can make. One is you can play a single card. So, for example, I can play a 1, and then Mark can play a 2. And if he plays a yellow 2, I can play a green 2, and that beats his yellow 2. So whoever leads off the trick, that's the play that you have to play the entire time. So, for example, if like I said, I play a 2, he can play a 3 or better, or he can play another 3 that's of a higher suit. Play progresses until everybody is passed out of the round. You pass out of the round when you either can or can't or don't want to play a card. But once you've passed, you're out of that round. So then once the trick gets taken by whoever wins the trick, you take the cards, and that's pretty much all that's done with them. Then that person starts a new trick. And so you can play a single, a pair, a triple, a run. So, like 2, 3, 4, 5. Runs have to be at least 3 cards. You can play 4 of a kind, or there is one legal move that you can do regardless of what type of trick was played, and that's called a flashover, and that's a 4 of a kind. You can play that at any time, and it beats everything, and it ends a round.
Wow.
So once the round is over, you score. And you score based on your hotspot card. So if you got, say like you have one that says, may not play pairs, and you came in first in that trick or in that round, then you score 12 points. Because you come in first if you were the first person to discard all your cards.
Got it.
If you came in second, you score 7 points. If you came in third, you score 3 points. Fourth is 2 points, and fifth is 0. And actually, it doesn't matter how many people you're playing with. Whoever comes in last always gets 0 points. So I've only played this 2-player. Mark and I played this the other night. It was fun. We had fun as a 2-player game. I would like to play it with more people to find, see how it plays with that. Right now, I'm going to give it a 4. It was a good, solid game. I can see myself sitting down and playing this with my grandma, because she's good at trick-taking games. I think my mom would probably enjoy this. I think my family would enjoy this because we have a lot of firefighters in our family. So I think they'd appreciate the theme. So I may take this to the next family gathering and introduce them to this and see what they think.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
My only real downside on it was I like the little scoring tokens that they have for each player, but the only downside on it was that there's no red.
Oh, no red.
Yes, so I have to pick some other color. So, but, if that's the worst thing about it, that's doing pretty good. So I really enjoyed it. It's a well put together game, and I think I'm going to take it to the next game day I go to and see if I can't get more people to play. So
nice.
That's Ladder 29, and I give it a 4.
Good. I was looking forward to hearing what you thought of it. I'm glad that you guys liked it. I'll have to try it sometime. Like I said, we don't really care much for trick-taking games, just not mechanisms we really care for, but I'm always willing to give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm having fun with them. I'd never played them before. I didn't understand them, but once I played Hearts, it was like, oh, now I see what all the fuss is about. And, these are kind of fun. So, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with them. I like Trickster. I like this one. I had fun with Hearts.
Good.
I'd like to try some others with just standard cards, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, that's what we've been playing. You've heard us referring to and rating games by a rating scale. Here's how we're using this scale. 1. Give me back the time I spent playing it. 2. Has great potential as kindling. 3. Decent with some bugs. 4. A good, solid game. And 5. Buy this now.
On June 6, 1944, more than 160,000 Allied troops landed along a 50-mile stretch of heavily fortified French coastline to fight Nazi Germany on the beaches of Normandy. General Dwight D. Eisenhower called the operation a crusade in which we will accept nothing less than full victory. More than 5,000 ships and 13,000 aircraft supported the invasion, and by day's end, the Allies had gained a foothold in continental Europe. The cost, however, was high. More than 9,000 Allied soldiers were killed or wounded, but their sacrifice allowed for more than 100,000 soldiers to begin the slow, hard slog across Europe to defeat Adolf Hitler's crack troops. The D-Day invasion marked the beginning of the turn of World War II, and today I'd like to review a game that simulates that. The game is called D-Day Dice. It was designed by Emmanuel Aquin. The art was done by Emmanuel Aquin and Mark Poole, and it was originally published by Valley Games. I'd like to talk about the original game and the Kickstarter that's going to be coming out in the mid-November for version 2.0 of D-Day Dice. In D-Day Dice, you play a squad of soldiers tasked with taking out a fortified bunker at the end of a long map. Now, the map itself is laid out in sectors. Each sector has a number and a shield that represents the losses that you take at the end of each turn that you remain there. There are also minefields that may need to be crossed, and without the ability to pass through them safely will cause you to lose soldiers as you pass through them. Some sectors also require you to possess a specialist, like a scout or a minesweeper, in order to enter that space. There are also some sectors that force you to lose a specialist, and you can't enter unless you have that specialist to lose. There are also some sectors that come under concentrated machine gun fire each turn, which means additional loss of soldiers as you pass through. Now, at the end of the map, there is a fortified bunker that must be entered, and you must survive one turn in order to finish the map. When you're playing this game in a multiplayer mode, it's a cooperative game where all squads must enter and survive the bunker or everybody loses. Now, each turn, you'll roll a special set of red, white, and blue 6-sided dice. Each face of the die has a different effect. Some of them are soldiers, which means more troops for your squad. And when you run out of soldiers, your game is over. Stars are used to recruit specialists that can grant bonuses like helping you pass through minefields or reducing the losses that you may take as you progress. Courage is needed in order to advance toward the bunker. Wrenches are used to find tools such as walkie-talkies and vehicles. And skulls are what you don't want to see, as they cause you to remove one die of your choice from the final tally. Now, you'll start by rolling dice each turn, and on the first turn, you have to lock 2 of those dice. Those dice cannot be re-rolled for the remainder of that turn. Now, you can roll or reserve the remaining 4 dice 2 more times, and then you count up what you have as your final tally. Now, if you can get the same symbol on a red, white, and blue die, you get a special bonus. This bonus can be additional soldiers you've been able to recruit, or maybe being able to advance forward one space toward the bunker without having the courage needed to advance. Now, you can stay in most sectors no more than 3 full turns before you are forced to either move laterally into a sector you've not been to before, or to move forward to the bunker. If you cannot advance because you've either run out of soldiers or don't have the required courage, you lose. Now, while on the surface, this may seem to be no more than a themed Yahtzee variant, there are some good, solid tactical decisions that need to be made each turn. Do I roll dice focusing on recruiting more soldiers, or am I low on courage that I need to advance because I'm running out of time? Maybe there's a specialist that I need in order to progress forward into a sector, or maybe I want to find that Bangalore torpedo to blow open the bunker to make it easier to advance. Now, decisions made each turn make the game to be more than just a luck-based game, as those decisions shape how you progress and can make the latter stages of the game either easier or much more difficult. Now, I found the challenge level to be adequate when playing solo. It's not that difficult to either run a single squad or to run more than one squad at a time to give you those dice trading options you would normally find. Now, I've enjoyed this game multiple times, both playing it solo, cooperative solo, and multiplayer, and it still continues to hit my table even today. Now, in mid-November, WordForge Games will be launching a Kickstarter for version 2.0. Now, they printed up 100 copies of their demo and asked on BGG and Facebook for reviewers. I posted my interest in the game and the fact that I still play it, and I was lucky enough to be sent a copy. Now, Emmanuel Quinn has taken several years of posts and discussions from various message boards and has made some changes to version 2.0. Now, to start with, I'm sure there will still be more rules changes and definitely more component changes between the demo copy that I have and the Kickstarter final version that's coming up. So I will only cover certain things in brief, like artwork and demo component quality, because those will definitely change between now and final. Now, first off, one thing that I do like is that each nationality comes with a different set of red, white, blue bonuses. While it doesn't make the game completely different depending on the nationality you change, there's enough difference that it changes your focus as you go. And I find that to be very refreshing, that each nationality will have, in a sense, a different flavor to it. Another thing that was done was the phases of the turn were cleaned up and tightened a bit, and he added a phase where he specifically says you adjust the unit marker. There have been times I'd be playing, I would be getting involved in the game, and I would forget to turn the unit marker. It's a special die that comes with chevrons on it that shows how many turns you remain in a sector, and it shows when you are forced to advance. By having that come as its own phase, it makes it easier to remember as part of the game, and I find that to be a very nice touch. Also, some of the item cards are marked not for use in solo play by a distinct symbol, and it makes it easier to pull them out. Also, certain items are marked as explosives that are also used to help blow open the bunker, and having those marked as well makes the game flow better to me. Overall, the original version's component quality I thought was excellent. The maps were of a thick cardstock, and the iconography and text worked very well. It was clear to see what specialists were required to advance or what ones needed to be sacrificed. On the demo map, they changed it to an icon, which to me was a little hard to see. The background of the icon was too dark for my eyes to clearly see the symbol. I would like to see a return to the text, but if they continue with the demo style, I hope they make it larger and have it pop out a little bit more, so it's easier to tell which specialist is in question. Also, the original slipped with dials that were used to keep track of your unit resources. While they were a little flimsy at times, they did the job and have stood up to repeated play. Now, the demo, of course, didn't ship with the dials, so here's my hope that they will do this in version 2. The dials had an appropriate color and flag for their nationality. They also came with a small deck of specialists. Now, the cards themselves were small. Think spell and item card size from Elder Sign. But since only the award deck got any real shuffling, it works okay. Now, I've been told that the card quality will be better for the final version than the demo they shipped. Rounded corners and quite possibly a limit finish. Now, in version 1.0, the dice were engraved, which I thought was a very nice touch as compared to using stickers, and I'm hoping that will continue on with version 2.0, as the dice will clearly get the most use. The symbols on the dice were white on the red and blue dice and black on the white die, so they popped out and were easy to read even from a distance. This helps in cooperative play where you're able to swap dice around between other squads in the same sector, so it really helps be able to see those dice clearly as you go on. For the original game, I would give this a rating on the OTP scale of a very solid 4. While it's a dice chucker, it's very thematic, and it's very enjoyable cooperative and solo experience. From my experience with the demo and the rule changes that they put in, I feel that the final version will also be at least a 4, if not a 4.5, if they can increase the component quality of the maps and include to use the engraved dice. So I highly recommend anybody who's interested in World War II squad-based games to get a copy of D-Day Dice version 2. If you already have a copy of version 1, I have been told that all the rule changes that were incorporated in version 2 will work on the version 1.0 maps, so you won't lose anything by getting the 2.0 as well. You will get additional maps, you'll get the nationality bonuses, you'll get more awards, and they're planning additional expansions as well. So getting the 2.0, even if you have 1.0, is still a very solid purchase. Next time, we'll shift from the ground to under the sea as I review Victory Point Games' Nemo War, a fantastic solo game based on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Now, if you'd like to get in touch with me, I can be reached in several ways. I'm on Twitter at the handle Talesian, that is T-A-L-I, S as in Sam, E-I-A-N. I also have an Instagram account under the same name where you can find pictures of the games I'm playing or where I track the adventures of Gamer Arrow, who I hear may make an appearance at Conquest Avalon in a week or two. Now, I also frequent the Our Turn Podcast Guild message boards over at Board Game Geek, that's guild number 2600, and I can be found occasionally posting on the Solitaire Games on Your Table geek list as well. And remember, even if you are alone, it doesn't mean you can't get your game on.
The Dice Tower Network is a proud supporter of the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund. The board gaming community is kind and generous, and this fund was created to provide financial assistance to members of the board gaming community in their time of need. If your game is turned upside down and you need assistance, please visit jackvassell.org/apply. Find out how we can help.
Hi, this is Cathy. Back in episode number 40, we had an Ask Us Anything session on the show. We were asked so many great questions by our wonderful listeners that we decided to break them up and do a second episode a bit later in the year. Well, that time has come, and here is our second set of questions from our listeners and our answers. Enjoy!
Question 1. Jeff Lyons wanted to know, if you had to choose 2 games, one you have to play every day, and the other no one will ever be able to play again, which games are they?
This is Cathy. Well, the number one game I play every day is fetch with my dogs. I take them to the dog park almost every day so they can run and play. I have a chuck-it for throwing tennis balls, and my dogs, Sadie and Shasta, go get them and return them. Usually. Sometimes Sadie will get distracted by a bird or a squirrel and drop the ball to chase after them. Shasta, on the other hand, is getting old and is a bit blinded by cataracts. She can chase the ball while it's moving and bouncing, but once it stops, she has trouble tracking it down. A human game I play almost every day is Canasta. I have an app on my phone and I'm getting pretty good at it. I'd like to play it with real people sometime soon so I can see if my strategy works against people as well as it seems to be working against the computer. A game that I can say I'll take a pass on now and in the future is Race for the Galaxy. I just can't seem to get the hang of the iconography in that game. I never do well at that game, and struggling with the icons makes it so that I'm not having fun either.
I could go easy and choose Star Realms as the game I'd have to play every day because I already do on my iPad. But one game I'd love to be able to play every day is Seasons. It's my favorite game, but I don't get to play it very often due to how long it takes. Now, if that was on the iPad, I'd definitely play it every day. As for which game no one will ever be able to play again, that's hard to choose. There are so many bad games out there, but one I think really needs to be removed from society is Candyland. It's torture for parents, and there's just so many better games out there that are fun and teach kids things.
This is Mark, and as for a game that I would have to play every day, I think I'll pick one that I do play almost every day, at least for a few minutes, and that's World of Warcraft. It's something where you can check in for a little while, do a quest or two, and then hop on out. And as for games that no one will ever be able to play again, I have 2. Number 1 with a bullet is Diplomacy. I hate that game. It destroys relationships. It will turn the most loving of friends into absolute throat-tearing enemies. And the other is one I would save the world from, and that is 504. That was a failed experiment as far as I'm concerned.
Hi, this is Amanda. A game I would play every day would be Yahtzee or Quicks, just because they're very fun and simple and kind of math-based, which I really like when it's in a kind of simpler set. And then the other one that I could only play, once more and then never again? Oh man, that's hard. I guess I wouldn't want to choose any of my favorites because then I wouldn't be able to play them ever again. So I'm going to say my least favorite game, which was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure board game. And it was just like the weirdest, also math heavy game, but more on the heavy side. It was just kind of a blind math Bill and Ted game. And that can just, I could never play that again. So let's choose that one.
Question number 2. Kevin Garnica asks, at what point does iconography become more of a hindrance and text should be used? Clear, intuitive iconography is important to me, but sometimes it's too much to infer without consulting the rulebook endlessly. What are your thoughts?
If the iconography is simple and used frequently throughout the game, then it's okay. However, when you start having symbols that are only used on one card and you need to use the whole back of the rules to explain all the icons, then that is definitely a hindrance and text should be used, especially to make the game more accessible to those with vision issues. My best example of this is Race for the Galaxy. A lot of people love the game, but it has a high learning curve, and the iconography is actually a barrier for many people. I tried learning it, but I had trouble until it came out as an app. And then all of a sudden, the game made a whole lot more sense to me. And the reason is because I can click on any card at any time, and it will fully spell out in full English what all the icons mean and how the cards work. Shouldn't need an app to fix a board game. Anywho, when Will and I design, we always start with all text and then slowly introduce icons instead of certain words when the concepts are frequently used. But even then, we prefer to have text rather than make it all language independent. The reason for us is to make it visually accessible.
This is Frank. Iconography can be a sticky question in my group. There's a game that we'd like to play called Race for the Galaxy that we've nicknamed Race for the Confusing Symbols just because of the iconography. At times, especially when teaching that game to new players, the iconography can be way overwhelming, and it can be very hard to teach that game. That's one of the games that I would say would be too much to infer without consulting the rulebook endlessly, especially for new players. Once they've learned the game, however, though, and learn the iconography, the game goes very quickly. There are other games that I have that have a lot of iconography in them, and they also have steeper learning curves than normal. So I tend to take more time when I'm teaching those games. But once the games are learned, iconography is usually not a problem.
Iconography is a great way to give information, but only if it's intuitive. The iconography you see on road signs is a great example. You don't have to speak any particular language to know what you need to about the road you're on. Some games do this really well. Power Grid is one. You know exactly what type of fuel each power plant needs, and you know which ones pollute and which ones don't. I think my beloved Firefly is another one that the icons do a great job in conveying not only the flavor of the game, but some good information too. As I mentioned before, Race for the Galaxy is a game that I just can't seem to get the hang of the icons. As such, I don't enjoy the game and probably won't play it going forward. Another one that I need reminders on what some of the icons mean is Seven Wonders. However, I think I have most of them down pat and I don't struggle with it as much. And I have fun when I play that game.
Mark here. And iconography is harder than it looks. To get it to be clear and intuitive, it takes some work. I find that the iconography in A Race for the Galaxy is actually pretty intuitive once you get the hang of it. The problem is getting the hang of it. As for other games, some of this iconography just doesn't make any sense. I don't really have any solutions as to when text would be better. About the only time I think that text would be better is if you can do it concisely, which is a whole nother kettle of fish.
Question 3. Ron Graves asked, what is the right number of games for a game collection?
That depends entirely on the individual. How much room do you have to store games? Do you collect games you love, or do you include games that you think are just okay? I'm still wrestling with these questions myself. I know there are games in my collection that I'll never let go of, like Firefly, Unfair, Mechs vs. Minions, and Ogre. There are other games that I bought to try out. Now that I have, they will probably go into the flea market pile for the next convention. Some people own thousands of games. Some own just a few. A game collection is such a personal thing that I think each person has to answer this question for herself or himself.
Mark says all of them. No, seriously. There's no such thing as the right or wrong number of games for a game collection. It all depends on how many you want to keep, how many you want to have around the house. If you have friends that have a lot of games and you play with them all the time, you won't need as many games. Although here I am talking about needing games.
Hi, this is Amanda. I don't think there's a right number of amount of games. I think everyone can have, their own number per se. I have a friend that has his special little cabinet that's filled with just his favorites. And then, of course, in my house, I have a pantry that's filled with, zillion games. And overflowing, which isn't really the best thing, but it's hard when you're such a gamer and collector and a thrift store junkie, and you just find, a bunch of treasures when you're out and about. I think we definitely need to have a little cabinet like my friend does of just like the favorites. Maybe like if I had to put a number on it, 20 would probably be a good amount. A mix of some longer Euro heavy games and some shorter, quick, fun games. Let's just say 20 to keep it sane, because I think my pantry is soon going to become a second bedroom, just like a game room.
The right number of games for a game collection is however many you want and feel good about having, regardless of what does and does not get played. I don't think there should be a minimum or a maximum. A gamer is someone who has one game. A gamer is someone who has 2,000 games. And gamers are everywhere in between.
Frank here, and there's really only one real answer to this question, and that would be yes. But seriously, there are so many games that have a similar mechanic and maybe a slightly different or better theme that it's really hard to just say, I only need one deck builder or only one dice builder. So having multiple games of the same mechanic is okay to me. And I have several of those in my collection. As for the theme, that can be a little more challenging because there are certain themes that just scream to me, I want to have every game of this theme, and others it's like, I don't need a single game of this theme. So as for the answer to this question, it's kind of hard to tell, and it's up to the person's choice.
Question number 4. Ron Graves asks, what is your favorite thing to do when not playing games?
Our other hobby is Lego. So when we're not playing games, we're building new Lego sets or building our own models.
Hi, this is Amanda. That's very hard to answer because when I'm not playing board games, I'm playing card games. And if I'm not playing card games, then I'm playing video games. I think I'm just always in some form playing games. If I'm not home, if I'm working, or if I'm traveling, then I'm on my cell phone maybe playing games. And I think I'm just playing games too much. So let's just say what I'm not doing is probably sleep. Sleeping is probably what I'm doing if I'm not playing any games at all. Because I recently got a SNES Classic. I got a Switch a month ago. I have my PS4 that's only a few months old. I mean, I just can't stop playing games. It's in my blood.
Frank here. And I guess it would have to be either hiking in the woods or being out by the ocean. I've always been a nature person, and those are two places that just bring me at peace and allow me to kind of push aside the stresses of the world and such and refocus myself. So those are places that, while I don't get to go to them very often, I look forward to it every chance I get.
I like playing and walking with my dogs or watching TV with my husband, Mark. We will watch old TV shows that we both enjoy, like any of the iterations of Star Trek, Battlestar Galactica, or Babylon 5. We also enjoy watching movies. We enjoy sci-fi movies, superhero movies, and historical dramas.
When I'm not playing games, I like to hang out with the lovely and talented Cathy, trademark pending, and our beloved dogs, Sadie and Shasta. It just calms me, soothes me, and gets me ready to play more games.
Question 5. Ron Graves wondered, what is your favorite place to vacation?
Frank here. And my favorite place to go on vacation, I guess, would have to be Walt Disney World or Disneyland. I've always been a huge Disney nerd. When I was growing up, my father used to work at Walt Disney World. And there were many times when my mother would load me and my sister in the car and some other family friends who also worked at Walt Disney. And we would sign into the park. Our mothers would give us like $20 or $30 each, and a swift kick in the butt and saying, "Get lost, see you at midnight at the flagpole." And we would just roam around the Magic Kingdom or Epcot Center for hours, going on rides and getting ice cream and doing all the fun things, completely unsupervised. Mind you, it was a different time and age. Most people wouldn't do that now. But it was how I was growing up, and I had a blast. And I haven't, unfortunately, been to Disney in such a long time that it's something I definitely want to do again.
Hi, this is Amanda. My favorite place to vacation is actually Arizona desert. I love the desert. I don't know why. I'm not very into heat per se, and yet I'm in Sacramento where we got the high of, 109 this summer. I don't know, something about the desert just calls to me. I really love the cacti out there. I went in April. It was like the perfect weather. It was beautiful. I would love to move there and just be one with the desert. So that would be my favorite place for sure.
This is Mark, and most definitely I'm a city kid. So my favorite vacation spot is someplace with the creature comforts. I don't like hotels that don't have bell service or room service. And any place that has a poker table is a plus.
My favorite place on earth to vacation is Santa Cruz, California. When I was a young child, my grandma used to take me and my brother David to her cabin in the woods behind Santa Cruz. We had the run of the park where the cabin was located, and periodically throughout our stay, Grandma would take us to Santa Cruz to go to the beach or the boardwalk or take us on special outings around the area. I still enjoy going there as an adult, and each trip brings back those great memories.
I unfortunately can't travel very much, but I loved going to Seattle, and I really hope to go back someday. Maybe even take the train again.
Question number 6. Ron Graves asks, what is your favorite adult beverage?
I don't drink alcohol anymore, but I was always fond of blackberry wine. Very sweet.
Mark here, and there are so many choices on this question. I would have to say, though, my favorite of all time is an Irish whiskey called Tullamore Dew. It's smooth, it's relaxing, and it's great to drink either neat or with a little bit of ice.
Hi, this is Amanda. My favorite adult beverage. Oh, that's a tough one because I am still a kid and I am drinking milk probably 2 to 3 glasses a day. And I would not consider that an adult beverage, but that is definitely my beverage of choice. I get a lot of dirty looks when I'm in a restaurant and everyone's getting a beer and I'm like, I'll have a glass of milk. My friend got me into a shock top beer. So I would say if I have to grow up and I have to be an adult, maybe shock top beer or a Blue Moon with like 5 slices of oranges inside. Or even maybe like a hard cider. Just something, like a Martinelli's basically for adults.
Frank here. And I really enjoy a good Guinness right off the draft. Just a nice head on it. It's one of those beers that you kind of have to have with a knife and a fork, and I really enjoy it. I also enjoy a good fat tire every now and then. Also, for mixed drinks, probably most things with vodka, like screwdrivers and such, would be good for me too.
I enjoy mixed drinks with rum. I don't know what it is about rum, but I have yet to try a mixed drink with rum that I didn't like. I've tried other mixed drinks, and they're okay, but my go-to is rum.
Question 7. Ron Graves wanted to know, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would that be?
I enjoy being warm, so I think I'd like to live someplace tropical near a beach. I'd still like to be sure that I have reliable power and internet service, but something warm near the ocean just sounds like heaven to me.
Frank here, and I guess it would probably either be the Scandinavian countries or maybe London or Paris. I've always enjoyed the snow. I grew up around a lot of it in New York, and I don't get to see it very much anymore. So being around the snow most of the year I think would be enjoyable. Also, being in London or Paris would be centrally located in Western Europe, and I could go to places like Essen really easily. So that would be where I'd want to live.
This is Mark again. Anywhere in the world, huh? I think I would like to live near the ocean. A town maybe just big enough to have reliable services and stores, but small enough so we didn't have to worry about rush hour and traffic and too many tourists.
Oh, I'd love to live up in the Seattle area. There's a huge gamer community up there as well as a Lego community. Oh, that would be heaven.
Question number 8. Adrian Dong asks, what would be your perfect game convention experience?
My perfect game convention experience is one where I get to hang out with all the amazing people I've met online and also network with publishers for our game designs. I hope to do exactly that at Origins in 2018.
Hi, this is Amanda. The perfect game convention experience in my mind is one where we finish our zombie card game that we've been working on for a couple years on and off for fun. We're involved with a podcast called Game Dev Radio, and that's where we developed a zombie card game, and we walked the listeners through it just from beginning kind of almost to the end with play testing and getting feedback and making changes and design and art and dealing with different companies for production. So we're on the home stretch, and we are going to do like a big Kickstarter kind of launch soon. And the perfect game convention experience would be to also bring it, physically to any kind of convention, probably local Sacramento ones or, out in the Bay. San Jose has a ton. And just come dressed as some of the characters in our game. So we would be cosplaying as ourselves from the game, just promoting it with like banners and stickers and t-shirts and different copies of the game to go to the open playtesting area and having people just come and enjoy the game and talk about it, scan QR codes to go to the website. That's what I envision is just a very fun, cool convention experience involving, our game as well. I've gone to so many conventions and enjoyed them just to go walk around, play, meet people, but it would be killer to be a part of it, with our own game.
I have yet to have a bad convention experience for myself. I don't like it when Mark gets sick, but for me, a weekend spent exploring new games, introducing my favorites to new people, meeting new people, and playing with old friends is a wonderful time, and I look forward to it each time I go to a con. I do wish the food was better and perhaps a little less expensive, but that would be my only improvement.
This is Mark, and since I am a magnet for all things microbial, I think my favorite convention experience would simply be one where I don't get sick.
Question 9. Adrienne Dong asked, what is your favorite vacation or travel, if during a work trip, experience?
A few years ago, I had to travel up to Crescent City, California to conduct training over 2 days. I had to drive up there because I wanted to be able to explore when I wasn't working, and taxi service at the time wasn't great up there. Once I was done training for the day, my time was my own, and I spent my afternoons and evenings exploring the area, going on walks along the beach or in the redwoods, and trying the different seafood restaurants up there. I'd love to go back and do that again sometime.
Mark again. And my favorite vacation experience or travel experience has to be boiled down to one of two. They're pretty much tied in my reckoning. First was many years ago, a friend of mine named Duncan, hi Duncan, and I decided to take a road trip to this convention called Gen Con way back in the waybacks. I think it was still being held at the University of Racine in Wisconsin at the time, and we had a blast doing that. The other one was yet another road trip. This one was with the lovely and talented Cathy, trademark pending. She and I went to Arizona to visit her parents, and along the way, we went to the Grand Canyon and Las Vegas and Yosemite National Park. And those were some very amazing experiences. We had a great time on both of those trips, and I just look forward to maybe doing something like that again.
Well, we don't travel much, but back in 2012, Will and I went to Bricks by the Bay in Santa Clara, California. It's a Lego fan convention run by fans for fans. It was an awesome experience to hang out with other Lego fans, do workshops and fun games, and just see all the awesome creations that people made.
Question number 10. Charlotte Smith asks, in an average week, how many board games do you play?
Mark here. And an average week is kind of hard to come by. But I'd say if I had to quantify it, I'd play between 3 and 5 board games a week. More, of course, if there's a meetup on that weekend.
Ooh, it's tough to figure out how many games we play a week because it can vary so wildly. Like in 2016, we averaged about 40 plays per month, but there were definitely some months that had a lot more and some that had a lot less. And in 2017, I've already exceeded the average of 40 plays per month, but there's still most of November and December to go. I'd say it's safe to say the average number of games I play in a week is about 10, but sadly, this has not been quite the case lately.
Hi, this is Amanda. I was actually an interior designer for a staging company this summer, and we've had some pretty crazy hours and a very busy summer that's winding down now. But I really didn't get to play a lot of games when I was just coming home late and tired. I really need to catch up. I got a lot of homework, a lot of new games that have just been kind of sitting on the table waiting for me to play. In a good average week, when I'm not working like crazy, I would say, play like anywhere between 3 to 4 or 5 games, and that could be like fun little quick ones to heavier Euro type games, especially when we have some of our friends kind of meet up and play. We like to do Risk Legacy or Pandemic Legacy, just like the long 3-hour to 5-hour journeys of craziness. That's like a perfect week to have a few casual fun games during the week and then go a bit heavier with friends on the weekend.
Well, in any given week, I need to play at least 2 to 3 games in order to have something to talk about on the podcast. However, if I can play 4 to 5 games in a week, I consider that a really good week. I'm lucky to have quite a few games to choose from on my game space of temporal insufficiency, and also have friends who are constantly introducing me to games that I don't own. It's really a good time to be a gamer.
Question 11. Charlotte Smith wondered, what is, in your opinion, the heaviest game you have ever played to date? Do you enjoy heavy games? And would you want to play even heavier games in the future?
I do enjoy heavy games, though I don't get to play them as often as I'd like. Probably the heaviest game I've played is Twilight Imperium 3 with expansions. I've only played it once, and I really enjoyed it. Another one I really enjoy is Leaving Earth. That one is full of meaty challenges. If you go by game length, I'd have to say Firefly or Samurai Swords. I've also played and enjoyed Panamax, Lewis and Clark, Outpost, and Power Grid.
Frank here. And I guess that would have to be the Colonists. I've done multiple games of 3 and 4 players of all 4 eras that have gone on for like 7 or 8 hours and had a blast. It really didn't feel like I was playing a 7 or 8 hour game by the time I was done, and I was almost ready to hop into another one. Another heavy game that I really enjoy would be Battlestar Galactica. We've played several games of that have stretched into the wee hours of the morning that I have honestly enjoyed. And I would definitely want to play even heavier games. I haven't had a chance to play Twilight Imperium yet, and I've only played a few games of Eclipse, and those are games that I would really like to get more into.
Oh, I've played a lot of heavy games, and I typically enjoy them quite a lot as I like to be challenged to think critically and live or die by my brains. However, one game that really broke me was Food Chain Magnate. I've only played it once. I did so terribly. I just could not understand the timing of actions, and Will's much better at that than me. So, it's still on our shelf to be played again. We just haven't had the time. We need to set aside a whole day for us to get through that again.
Mark once again. And my favorite games that would qualify possibly as heavy are games like Power Grid and Outpost. The kind of mathy sort of games. Leaving Earth is also another one that's very mathy that I enjoy. As for heavier than that, yeah, usually I tend to shy away from those kind of games. I tend to like my games on the medium to medium heavy side.
Question number 12. Charlotte Smith asks, for Sarah in particular, how long did it take you and Will from starting to think about game design to having your first published game in your hands?
We started designing games in the summer of 2012. We worked on a couple of different designs through about near the end of 2014. Right at the end of 2014, we came up with a new game because we were so frustrated by our inability to get anywhere with our other designs. This new game was to be shorter, faster, with a thinky focus. It was Project Dreamscape, which went to Kickstarter in early 2015, and I believe it was in the summer when early proof copies came in that we got to hold our first published games in our hand. It was a very surreal moment that just didn't really click until copies started shipping out to backers that fall, and I saw other people posting pictures of it. Then it was finally really real. Question 13. Charlotte Smith wanted to know if everyone who contributes regularly to Our Turn came together for a game night, what would be the main games you'd play?
This is Mark, and that answer would depend on two things. One is what sort of new hotness has arrived from Kickstarter or our friendly local game store, and the other would basically be how many people attend. If we have 5 or 6, it would probably be Terraforming Mars or Battlestar Galactica, or if Cathy got her druthers, Firefly.
The local contingent of Our Turn does try to get together on a somewhat regular basis. When Sarah Reed and her husband Will host us, we usually play their latest creation like Project Dreamscape, and I'm looking forward to giving Oaxaca a go. Last time we got together, we introduced them to Terraforming Mars. Mostly we see what's on Sarah's unplayed game shelf that we can teach her so that we can help whittle that down a bit. Mark and Frank and I are practically next door neighbors now, so when we get together, we play Terraforming Mars, Battlestar Galactica, or whatever new acquisition one of us is excited about.
Frank here, and I have 2 games that I would like for us to play as a group. One we've already done. We've had a group get-together one time when we did Terraforming Mars. That was an absolute blast. And I would love to repeat that again, especially with the Venus Next expansion coming out. The other one I'd like to kind of see us do would be Battlestar Galactica. There are a couple of people in our group who always seem to become Cylons. I'm not really sure why that happens, but I think it'd be interesting to see how they fare with other people in the group as well.
Oh boy, yeah. Everyone in the podcast has such different tastes in games, but I'd love to get my favorites to the table and share the joy I have playing them. So some of my favorites are Seasons, Suburbia, Sentinels of the Multiverse. You know, actually, Sentinels would be really fun. We could see how we come together as a team to defeat the supervillain.
Today for the interview, I am chatting with game designer Angela Dickens. Her current project is a game called Goblin Goblins. Angela, welcome to our turn.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So where are you? Where am I talking to you from?
I'm in the UK, in Poole, which is on the south coast of the UK. Seaside town. It's very nice.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Coastal towns are always nice.
Yeah.
Two of my favorite places to visit are Santa Cruz, California, which is on the central coast of California, and Crescent City, California, which is on the far northern coast of California.
Ah,
They're both beautiful places to visit.
sounds lovely.
Well, welcome to the show. So, how long have you been gaming?
Pretty much since I could walk and talk, I would say. I was that one at school who was always getting their friends to play games, things that they'd made up.
Yeah, me too.
You're running around your house in the dark, someone's like an alien. It would inevitably lead to someone tripping themselves up, and I get in a load of trouble with my parents, but yeah. But yeah, no, I was actually really into video games initially. So I used to do a lot of podcasting and stuff around that. I got into board and card games kind of a few years back, and I think I found my calling there. And just, I love board games.
Nice. What's your favorite mechanic or style of game?
I like games with good themes. So I love me a zombie game. Been playing like a lot of Dead of Winter recently.
That one is very thematic.
Yeah. And like games with revenge, not traitor mechanics. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, traitor mechanics. Those are a lot of fun.
Oh, have you ever played Battlestar Galactica?
No. I mean, I've seen the show. But is there a board game version of that?
Yes, there is. It's from Fantasy Flight. And it has a traitor mechanic because, Cylons look like us.
Oh, yes. Yes, they do. True. I could be one.
And yeah, absolutely. In fact, I get the Cylon card often enough, and I tend to play Laura Roslin as the character that I choose to play a lot.
Yeah.
And I get the Cylon card so often that they just, from the start of the game, they just call me President Toaster.
Yeah. He's just always under suspicion.
Yeah, absolutely, always. Yeah, absolutely.
There's always one in each gamer group where everyone suspects them straight away. Or at least there is with the people I play with, which I feel bad for.
My husband likes to play either Admiral Adama or Admiral Kane.
Yeah.
And he gets the Cylon card often enough that they just call him Admiral Toaster. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that mechanic. So what got you into game design?
Well, I did used to make kind of like digital games. I used to make like Flash games and iPhone apps and things like that because I couldn't get into
you're a techie.
Yeah. I'm a bit of a geek. My day job is a web developer.
Nice.
So for a while I was trying to make websites which also functioned as games, and then eventually I just thought, why don't I just make an actual game, like something I can hold and play, and so I started to come up with this card game with my friend Dan, because he's an artist with pretty much zero technical know-how, so we sort of combined brains to start making board games together.
And is Goblin Goblins your first one?
It is, yes. We were originally working on an idea before that, which we kind of scrapped. It was kind of like a fitness game. It was sort of something you could play throughout the day, but it wasn't really working. So it was again me thinking too much outside the box. So I brought that back to actually let's just make a regular game. And Dan said to me, he had this, he always wanted to make a game called Goblin Goblins. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. How'd you play that? And he was like, I don't know. So that's where I came in.
So tell me about Goblin Goblins.
So Goblin Goblins it's a set collection game, I think, primarily. Each player plays as a different goblin trying to gobble up the most food. And the food is all color-coded, and you have to kind of collect sets of the food in order to gobble it up. And basically everything the goblins eat is really disgusting. You've got like wasp cake, earwig soup, 6 pints of sour milk, mud pie, and
toasted flip-flops.
Toasted flip-flops, one of my favorites. Each card has like a little description below it. I had a lot of fun with the one on that card because it's basically got instructions for Pop-Tarts, but with flip-flops instead.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it's a very humor-filled game. It's like a light filler game, 20 to 30 minutes. And it can play about 2 to 12 players. So you could sort of class it as a bit of a party game as well. But it's something with more strategy than your kind of standard party game, I would say.
So you had to come up with 48 of these cards of
yes.
things that goblins eat?
Yeah.
Wow.
There was a lot of a lot of brainstorming sessions, basically, and a lot of vetoing some ideas and trying to come up with other things. And a lot of it was trying to like tailor the things to the different goblins, because all the goblins are kind of different types. Like you've got grotty goblins and snobby goblins, dodgy goblins. So there's things in there like there's a sort of mafioso style Italian goblin called Granny Knuckles. She likes moonshine and spaghetti, but she hates whistles because she hates the law.
Okay.
So we came up with those first, and then we filled in the rest with your general disgusting things like bogies and toenails and things like that.
Yeah, I like the description on the toenails. They're freshly clipped.
Oh yeah, freshly. I mean, that's what you want when you're having toenails in a fancy restaurant.
You don't want those old toenails hanging around.
No, it's got to be the finest.
Now, I see a card here called Double Rainbows. What is that?
That's again, it's just something they eat. I like the idea of them eating kind of just impossible things. So we also have cards like a rusty old pylon or asteroids or roundabouts. Like it basically got madder the longer it went on. It's a very silly game. I think if you've got a goofy sense of humor, you're gonna like this game.
I showed your Kickstarter to my husband, and he was like, "Oh, this one looks fun and silly."
Mm-hmm. That is an apt description, I would say. And for that reason, actually, kids really like this game. I found when we play tested it with families, it's always gone really well because they just love all the kind of gross stuff.
I can see myself having fun playing this with my brother or my young friend Thomas, who's about 9.
Yeah. It's like I think we put the guide age as 8 to 80, but it's just a guide. I got in trouble with a friend because they were playing it with their granny, and she's above 18. She thought she wasn't allowed to play. Yeah, so I feel I should have made the cap a bit higher. But yeah, I guess 8+. Though we did have one parent play it who said his 7-year-old would like it. So, those things are just a guide, really. Anyway.
So it's a good family game. How long does it take to play it?
It's about 20 to 30 minutes. Yeah, it's quite quick to learn. It's basically like a pick up a card. A play a card, pick up a card mechanic, and then you've got your goblins, which have their little special abilities as well. But that's all there kind of really is to it. So I kind of wanted to make something that the kids could play, but also had enough strategy and stuff that the adults would like it as well. So hopefully I've struck that balance right. Yeah.
So it's got asymmetrical player powers?
Yes. There's like 12 goblins that span 6 different categories, and then those 6 categories have the 6 different powers. And then each of the goblins has their own likes and dislikes, food you have to avoid and food you have to get. Yeah, so hopefully there's a good bit of replayability in there, trying out the different goblins and stuff like that.
Nice. So this is on Kickstarter right now?
It is, yes. It's on Kickstarter right now, yeah.
As of this recording, it's about 75% of the way there. Is that right?
Yeah, I think 76 to be precise. Yeah, 76%. So it's looking pretty hopeful. But we still need people to kind of keep getting behind it and supporting it.
So it's going until November 25th. Is that right?
Yes, I believe that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this and Goblin sounds interesting to you, you have until November 25th to get in on it. This looks like a lot of fun, and I wish you best of luck on it. How can people get a hold of you if they want to connect with you online?
Yeah, I mean, the website is goblingoblins.com, all one word. And that has links to all our kind of social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Yeah, you should be able to find links to everything from there, including the Kickstarter page itself. So yeah, that's probably the best.
We'll have links to all of that in our show notes. So if you're interested, go to ourturnpodcast.com/episode 55. So thank you for coming on to Our Turn, Angela. This has been a neat conversation.
Oh, no problem. It's been a pleasure.
And I hope you'll come back and talk to us again when you've got your next project ready to go.
Yes, indeed. I'm already thinking up the next one. It's the curse of being a designer. You've got to get through one before you put pen to paper on the next one. But yeah, fingers crossed this one gets through so I can keep making games.
That would be fantastic. Well, good luck with this.
Thank you, Cathy.
This is Cathy, the winner of our survey participant drawing for a copy of Mary Flanagan's Monarch board game is Jay Malloy. I've sent an email to Jay asking for a mailing address so I can send the game. Jay, please respond as soon as you hear this or see the email so I can get your prize to you. Thank you to everyone who participated in our survey. We got some great feedback and we're planning some exciting changes for 2018. All right, so now we're getting to the end of the show and it's time to wrap things up. And we usually do that by looking ahead to what's on our plate coming up. What's on your plate, Sarah?
Well, I think we both have a lot of the same things on our plate for the next 2 weeks.
That's true. It's a busy couple of weeks for us, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing something called Conquest Avalon. Is that
Yes. Now, by the time this episode drops, the con will be over because it's dropping the Monday after the con. But we are putting on a live podcast episode recording at Conquest Avalon. We're going to be set up in the Chestnut Room at the hotel. And we have some prizes for audience participation. We have a discussion planned. We're going to, of course, talk about what we played lately, either at the con or elsewhere. And we're going to have a discussion. Then we're going to play a game and encourage audience members to play the game with us.
Yeah.
And anybody that does is going to win some prizes that we've gotten. So Sarah and Mark and I are all donating stuff to prizes. And then our very generous Patreon patrons have enabled us to purchase some prizes. And also, too, Viking Hobby donated a game to our prize pool, which I thought was really cool of them.
Yeah.
So they are a local FLGS. They're a little tiny hole-in-the-wall type store.
Yep.
You walk in, and it's a long counter. Think like an old-style general store, and then all the games are up behind the counter, and the rest of the store is all dedicated to miniatures and models and things like that. It really is a hobby store.
Yep.
And they are also a sponsor of the Paint and Take activity at Conquest Avalon. So,
Nice.
yeah, so they're really involved in the local hobby. They aren't going to have a booth at Conquest Avalon. It's a little store that's run by two people, so
Yeah.
they don't have the bandwidth to staff a con for a weekend. But they are always very generous in supporting the gaming hobby. And the neat thing about that store, too, is when you go in and you purchase games from them, they automatically take 10% off the price of the
Nice.
game. Yeah, so I thought that was very cool. So I like patronizing them whenever I can. And when they saw that we were buying prizes for this event, they said, "Oh, let me donate one. Here's this one." And they donated a game called 3 Wishes.
Yep.
So I thought that was really nice.
Yeah.
how are you feeling about this show coming up?
Not too stressed. But then again, you got to remember I grew up in the theater, so this is just old hat with less lighting and no curtains. So I mean, I don't know my lines exactly, and I'm more used to working behind the scenes than in front. But nah, I'm not worried. We're all going to get it. I mean, the only thing I'm worried about is the technology. That's the part that always gets me nervous.
And we have actually been wrestling with that all week. We are on mixer number 4.
Oh, no.
That has been a story.
You'll have to tell me sometime.
We bought one, and it didn't do what we wanted, so we sent it back. And we went to a music store and said, here's what we want this to do. And he goes, oh, perfect, this one. Here, this was a demo model. I'll give you a deal on it. It'll do exactly what you want it to do. I went, great. So we bought it, brought it home, tried to get it to do what we wanted to do, and it wouldn't. And we're like, so we took it back and we said, what are we doing wrong? We took my laptop in, everything, and they took a look at it and they went, oh, it has a short. It's not going to do what you want it to do.
It's not going to do anything.
Yeah. And so we said, well, we have this show on Saturday. What are we going to do? And they said, well, we can rent you a mixer.
Okay.
And it was pretty reasonable price. And we said, okay, great. We don't want to leave the store without knowing that this will do what we want it to do. So can you show us that it will do what we want it to do? And it didn't.
Yeah.
They couldn't get it to do what we needed it to do. So they kind of put their heads together, the manager and the salespeople there in the store, and they were like, what can we do for these people? And they found a piece of equipment that would take the number of microphones we needed it to take.
Nice.
That would do what we wanted to do, and they were able to prove it.
Yes.
They were able to pull it out, hook it up to my computer, and get it to do what we wanted it to do. And they gave us a deal on it.
Yay.
So we were really happy with that. That's Skip's Music here in Sacramento. They've been around almost as long as I have.
Yeah.
So
I even know of them, and I'm not in the music, but I think there was a period where Will wanted to learn how to play guitar, and I think we might have bought a guitar there.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, they're a local place, and they really went out of their way to help us pull this off.
Yeah.
So I was really pleased with that. So now we're just trying to get everything together and pull this off. So plans are coming together, things are going well, and the con starts tomorrow from this recording.
Friday.
Yeah. And so I'm going to the con tomorrow, and I'm going to do nothing but play games all day. I'm not going to worry about anything. I'm going to pass out some flyers about the show, but otherwise I'm not going to worry about anything. And then 2:00 on Saturday in the Chestnut Room, we're going to do our show.
Woohoo!
And then after that, we just have Thanksgiving. That'll be a breeze.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, actually, Thanksgiving's been pretty nice and a little bit smaller for me. We hosted last year because, we just bought the house. Mm-hmm. And it worked out really well. Had my parents over last year, my sister and her fiance and her daughter, and then Will's parents and Will's brother and his wife. So this year, my sister and clan, as I call them, it's only 3 people, but I still call them clan. They're going to be doing other things for her fiance's mom, so her soon-to-be mother-in-law. So it'll just be my parents, Will's parents, and then Will's brother and wife. So it'll be a nice little thing. The thing I love about how our family, 2 sides have come together, is everybody has such different tastes and different specialties that we always do potluck. So it's not one person, like the host's responsibility to cook everything, because it's never as good that way, because there's always something you don't do well. So, and it's a lot of work. And so we always split it up. So this year, Will's mom's going to do the turkey. My mom does an awesome green bean casserole. I like to do the candied yams. So, all the dishes are spread out. And then Will and I just have to clean up and set up the living room, dining room. The nice thing, since it's that big open space, we can put 2 folding tables end to end. And we won't have to fit as many people this year, or 3 less people. So it'll still be really nice. The big thing that's different for us, this is huge difference. Since 2009, we have always done the Lego Railroad Museum show the Friday and Saturday after Thanksgiving. This is the first year that they don't have it. They moved it earlier in November. Will and I couldn't participate, but our club did. So Will and I actually have Friday and Saturday completely to ourselves, no obligations. And I'm like, it's time to play games.
Nice.
Don't get me wrong. I've loved the tradition. It's always a lot of fun. It's always a lot of work. I'm a little sad that it's moved and they're trying to figure out a new permanent time and month. They're now talking June, which, I don't know, Old Sac in June, it can get hot. I mean, I know they were saying they were getting less attendance because of the November it's raining, but more people will go out in the rain than necessarily go out in the heat, I think.
And it's indoor.
So, anywho. So, other than actual Thanksgiving, and we have no plans for Black Friday. We're kind of over that right now. So, just going to stay home and play games. We'll probably want to put some Lego together too, but I need a little break after the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, that's a big one. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
So we're getting together with our friends Dwayne and Yuriko and some of their family and friends and other friends of ours.
Nice.
For a Friendsgiving.
Yeah.
My family, my parents are down in Arizona and they do things with their friends down there. And my brother, by the time Thanksgiving rolls around, is pretty much exhausted because he's in the middle of his hunt club season right now. And so they're going great gangbusters. And I think he actually closes for Thanksgiving, but he's open like the next day.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. So he just, he goes great guns, and when he stops, he drops.
Yeah,
I don't blame him. I don't blame him. So I haven't heard. I know that they sometimes will throw a Thanksgiving for some of my sister-in-law's friends at the Air Force Base where she serves in the Air Force National Guard. Mm-hmm. So sometimes they do that. I don't know if they're doing that this year or not. So we've gotten in the habit of just going for Friendsgiving, or we stay home and kind of bebop around on our own. I do have to send a thank you out to my brother and sister-in-law because this weekend with Conquest, they have taken our dogs for us. So we can go play. We don't have to worry about coming home to make sure they can get out and go play or get fed, because my brother and his staff out at their kennel are taking care of our babies for us.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. It's nice to have some family connections like that.
Yeah.
So, I watch their kid. They watch mine. It's nice.
Yeah, good trade.
Yeah. So anyway, have a great Thanksgiving. Yeah. And our next episode will be the show at Conquest.
Woo.
So hopefully no technical glitches and it all comes off just fine. Otherwise, we'll get together, I guess, at some point and do a regular episode to make up for it.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes, huh?
Yeah. Wish us luck on the technology. So anyway, until next time, that was our turn.
Now it's yours.
Thank you for listening. This episode was recorded on November 16th, 2017, and is written and produced by Cathy Ford and Sarah Reed with assistance from Frank Vicari, Angela Dickens, and Mark Ford. Next time, we will record a show live at Conquest Avalon. We want and encourage your questions, comments, and feedback. Please call 916-426-2873 and leave us a short voicemail, or send an email to feedback@ourturnpodcast.com. Our theme music was composed by Adriana Crickle. Incidental music was provided by Ben Sound. Please check out our show notes to learn more about these talented artists. The material in this episode is copyrighted under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. If you want to learn more about the games discussed in this episode, please visit our website at ourturnpodcast.com/episode 55. You can find a list of the games along with links to their listing on BoardGameGeek.com. We are proud members of the Dice Tower Network. You can find out about other shows in the network like The Dice Tower, The Family Gamers, or Board Game Blitz by going to DicetowerNetwork.com. Thank you for your support. If you like what you heard, please tell your friends about us.